this is Russ. Yep, I'm continuing on in my bike ride. Yeah, most of these bike rides now I do in almost like 2 parts at least. Because the rides are fairly long. I don't want to put it all on one video, of course. So I split it up. Yeah, so when I pass people, sometimes they'll say good morning, sometimes I give them the head nod. You guys do the head nod? The acknowledgement that they're there, give them a little nod, a little smile, make their day, make your day. All right. So, sun seems to be wanting to peek out a little bit. It had been a cloudy day up to this point. Getting a little bit more sun coming through. I have been pedaling a little bit more today than I had in previous days. I mentioned in the past that I don't ride my bike for exercise. I don't know what that squeaking sound is. That's not me. It's out in the forest preserve somewhere. I don't ride it for exercise. I ride it to tone my legs up in the morning, and then also to keep my knees going, because I had the knee replacement on my left knee. And that was a tough knee replacement if you're new to the channel. If you haven't watched any of my knee replacement videos, more than likely you have not. So let me give you a quick update so you know where I'm coming from. I've always had bad knees. I never knew why. And it turned out that I had torn meniscuses. And so I had my knees scoped out many years ago from my doctor. 5 years apart, I had them scoped out, but it all came from doing lots of taekwondo when I was younger. It's a lot of kicking, martial arts. So that helped, but it never really fixed things. And I always wondered why my knees hurt when I was riding my bike. I always wondered why my knees hurt when I stood too long and everything, and I just kind of accepted it over time. I think really I probably tore my meniscuses back when I was 15 or 16 years old. I remember that was the first time I started feeling my knees having issues. So I probably tore it when I started out in martial arts, and of course I continued martial arts into my early 30s, and that it doesn't help when you continue doing stuff like that. Good morning. So I finally went in. I got my left knee replaced, and they tell you that it takes 3 to 4 months usually for you to get well enough that you can at least function. Okay, and I'm not saying you'll be 100% perfect, but you'll be able to be functional. So I figured, okay, well, if it only takes 3 or 4 months, I'll go in 3 or 4 months later and do the other knee, because both knees have issues, right? Well, after they did the first knee, I says, I'm not going in for that second knee unless I absolutely have to. Yeah, that first knee, my left knee, was really bad. After I had it done, I couldn't bend my knee. I had no flexion. They want you to be at least 120 degrees of flexion so that you can function. After the first month, I think I was down in the 70 degree range. That's pretty bad. So they morning. They brought me back into the operating room. They did a thing called a manipulation under anesthesia, where they knock you out and then the doctor pushes on your leg to force that knee to bend. What happened with me is that I had a lot of scar tissues that grew during the time after the operation. Sorry, still coughing. And so by him forcing it to bend, it breaks the scar tissues, which then allow you to bend more. And then it also helps your extension, because you want the leg to extend to 0 degrees so it's straight. Well, my leg was not straight either. So it couldn't bend and it couldn't straighten. So after that first thing with my knee, where they brought me in and pushed on it, the doctor got 130 degrees of flexion in the operating room. But of course, once you come out of it, the pain is so great you can't really bend your knee that much anymore. So you kind of lose that 130 degrees that you gained in the operating room. I think I was down to maybe 90 degrees, something like that, which was still pretty good. It's better than 70 something, but still not enough. So we went in one more time a month later out of my request. I said, if we do it again, will we get better? And he says, you might get more. So we did it again. And, I moved to like the 100 ranges. And you keep working at it. And I went to physical therapy a lot. I was going in almost daily. And I did 80 physical therapy sessions. That's a lot. Most people don't do that many. I went in 80 times, and I had a copay of $50 per copay, so I paid $4,000 into my physical therapy on my own money, and insurance pays the rest of it. At the end of the day, what happened was the pandemic happened, so I stopped going to physical therapy. I started to deal with it on my own, and we were able to get me to 130 degrees when the physical therapy therapist pushes me. But on my own, I was getting maybe 117, something like that. So I ended up stopping. It was a bad time to stop. I really would have liked to kind of had his help a little bit more. But one of the knee brace companies, Joint Active Systems, had been following along on my YouTube channel, I guess, and so they knew that they had provided me one of the knee braces when I was working my knee. Morning. And they called me up and asked me how I was doing, and I said, not so good. I seem to be reverting backwards, and my extension is actually pretty bad. I only had like 10 degrees of extension. So even at 10 degrees of extension, your leg is not straight. You can't even stand straight. So I was always favoring one leg and not the other. So they sent me back my leg brace, my knee brace, to help my extension. And then later on, they sent me another one that was designed specifically to help me for my flexion, because I found that my flexion was starting to go backwards. Let's go this way. So with their help, I was able to get my knee back to a flexion of 120 degrees, and extension went to about 5 degrees. It was 10 degrees. And then with additional work on my own, I finally got it down to 0. So yeah, I credit a lot of that help to Joint Active Systems. So shout out to them. If you're going in for a knee replacement, ask your doctor to see if you can get something like their device to help you. We call them JAS for short, JAS, Joint Active Systems. So yeah, we built a good relationship. I did a number of videos on YouTube about my knee. I think there's 140 something, 149 maybe, knee replacement videos that I did. And of course, that brings us to the e-bikes. So to keep my knees moving, since I ended up returning the device back to Jazz and the like, I said maybe I should buy an e-bike, keep my legs moving. Then I asked my wife if I can buy a bike. She said no. She says, you have a bike. Yeah, I have a mountain bike. It's in the basement. I says, well, I can't really ride that thing. I don't have the strength to ride it. Let's go this way. I don't have the strength to ride it for any given distance. And then I says, what if I ride to a certain distance and I can't get home? I'm stuck out there. I don't have the strength to bring myself back. I says, but if I had an e-bike, if I totally ran out of pedaling strength, I could throttle it all the way back home. So she eventually said, okay, you can buy an e-bike if you want. So the rest is history, as they say. So that e-bike has grown into many e-bikes now. channel has grown because of the e-bike. So I would say the e-bike has helped me quite a bit, a lot of different ways. Thank you. Yeah, the dogs are well behaved. So yeah, so this whole thing about some people asking me to start e-bike channels, you know, if your motivation is for certain reasons, that's great. If your motivation is not, that you might get gain from getting review bikes or something, then not so great, okay? But, you know, those things will come to you. I never thought I would be a e-bike reviewer, but as I worked on my bikes and rode my bike, and of course I have a lot of bike knowledge beforehand because I was always interested in bikes before that. I just couldn't ride it because my knee was so messed up. Those things will come. And so when they finally asked me to review some bikes, I said, you know, at one time I even said I didn't want to be an e-bike reviewer. Should I change my mind? And yeah, I changed my mind. I said, yeah, why not? Let's see what's out there. Maybe there's better bikes that I don't realize that are out there. What am I missing? All right. Because I have a video, you might have seen it, where I talk about, you know, I had 2,500 miles on my Rad Rover. After 2,500 miles, would I buy another bike? And the answer at that time was no, I wouldn't. I was happy with the Rad Rover. So am I still happy with the Rad Rover? And the answer is no. And here's why. Because this bike came along. The Magicycle came along. I didn't realize what I was missing when I only had that one bike. I didn't realize that there was more powerful bikes that could really do a lot better job. I didn't realize that the hydraulic brake calipers that I put on was not as good. Oh, I realized that it was not as good as a full hydraulic brake, but I didn't realize how much I was missing until I put the full hydraulic brake on this bike. Now that I have it, I feel like, wow, it's kind of hard to go back to anything that doesn't have it. Not to say that if you have a mechanical brake, they're no good, because I worked with it for the entire year and I was able to stop. I improved it by putting the hydraulic brake calipers on, but they're not the same as full hydraulics. Full hydraulics cost a little bit more money. I think Magicycle sells these step-thru ones for about $225. So it's not something I would have known until I put it on there, right? People have told me I should get a mid-drive bike. I don't think I really need one. But again, I might like the mid-drive better. I just have not had a chance to experience one yet. So really, a lot of this stuff is based on your experience levels. If you feel you have you're happy with what you have already, that's probably because maybe you haven't experienced the others. I mean, there are bikes that are $4,000 or $5,000. I've never tried any of those. I don't know what I'm missing. Or am I missing anything? You know, sometimes a more expensive bike doesn't necessarily mean it's a better ride. You might be paying for certain types of costlier materials that you may or may not need. So I think getting these review bikes is something that has opened my eyes to more of what's out there. And had I not been able to do these reviews, I probably would never know it. My opinions might still be, oh, you don't need it, or you know, that's no big deal. But that opinion can change after you've had a chance to play with stuff, right? So yeah, thank you to the manufacturers who give me these bikes to review and to play with. I really appreciate it. It's opened my eyes to a lot of stuff. Hopefully it's opened your eyes too. I also appreciate the fact that a number of you guys have reached out and told me that my channel has helped you and that I'm a trusted person to you, because a couple of you guys have mentioned that you trust what I'm telling you, because you know, if I don't like something, I'll at least mention that. And So not everything's perfect. Not everything is bad, but not everything's perfect. But yeah, I mean, as much as I like this bike, there's some things that I think it could be better. Now you're thinking, what are the things that could be better, Russ? Yeah, okay, I'll tell you. One thing that I didn't know before I did the review is the sparking that happens. Okay? If you take the battery off the cradle to charge it, then you put the battery back. When you reattach the battery, there's definitely a spark. I mean, like a little spark. I mean, you can actually see the little fire of the little spark that happens. That took me by surprise. I go, what is that? And then, of course, I'm looking at online to find out more about it. And yeah, it seems to spark for almost everybody. And my Magicycle says that's common. Well, yeah, it's common to them, but it's not common to all e-bikes. All right. They said not to worry about it. Well, yeah, it is something to be of a little bit of concern, because you see that spark. All right, here's the worst case scenario. Your room is filled with gas, okay? You have a spark. What do you think is going to happen? It's going to blow up, right? All right, well, is it enough to do that? Well, yeah, if your room is filled with gas. Question is how many people's rooms are filled with gas when they're changing things out? Okay, now should that guy have turned like that, knowing that I was there? I think what he should have done was let me go first, just to make sure I don't end up pulling out and then he runs me over. But hey, that's just me. So yeah, so that's one thing they could improve on. Does it hurt it? Nah, not really. I've learned to accept it. But I think if it didn't spark at all, that would be better. What else do I not like so much on this bike? Well, you all know that the pedal assist level is set way too high. When it comes from the factory, I think it should be lower. I mean, pedal assist level 1 was set at 40%. That's a little high. That'll jolt you right off the bike if you're not careful. So if you're an experienced rider, that's no big deal. But if you're not, and it's like this is your first e-bike, I think you should knock it down before you even start getting on the bike. So that's not too good. It's fixable. Let's say that. It's not like you can't fix it. It's just that straight out of the factory, it's set a little higher than I think it should be. I think it should be a little lower. All right, we're going to take a left over here. So I'm putting my arm out to let the people know behind me that I'm planning on turning. Good morning. So yeah, there's always good and there's bad. But those bads aren't so bad. The spark's not that great. But it doesn't seem to really affect you too much. But it is a little disconcerting. Is that the proper word? When you first see that spark, when you put it on there. Now that spark is going to be an issue for me since I got a second battery coming, because I'll be swapping batteries out in the field. So will that spark affect me out in the field? No, I don't think so. You're outside, okay? You're not in a room filled with gas. But yeah, I'm going to see that spark happen all the time. Let's go. Let's take a right. Anyways, that's really all I wanted to say for today. I really just wanted to get out and ride a little bit. Again, like I said, I haven't taken the Magicycle out to any place far because I've been waiting for the second battery. And hopefully I will get that in a couple of days. Watch, after waiting all this time from FedEx, it'll be something other than the battery. Something similar in weight, and it'll be from something else. Then I will be a little disappointed because I really want that second battery to get this bike out to different places. Plus, as I mentioned on another video, I was thinking of selling that rad Rover, and if the battery gives me the range I hope to get, I'll be able to do that. But if the battery doesn't give me the range I hope to get, then I'll probably keep the rad Rovers. So yeah, a lot hinges on the battery's ability, and I'd hope that they send me the 20 amp hour battery, but you know, if I get the 15 amp hour battery, that's better than nothing, but it probably won't get me to certain areas, in which case I'll have to hold on to the rad Rover and use that as my distance bike. Oh, another good and bad thing, and I've mentioned this before. This bike has a lot more torque. It's a good thing. The bad thing is if you want to utilize that torque, you're eating up more power. So eating up more power, of course, eats up more battery. So that's a bad thing, right? You don't get more power and more torque for free. It comes at a cost, and the cost is your range, because your battery's going to have to supply the power for that stuff to happen. So I know that the rad Rover doesn't have quite the power, it doesn't have quite the torque, but because of that, it gives me the range, more range because of it. So, new bikes are coming. I'm curious what those things will do. So what's my predictions? Well, we already know 3 Magicycle bikes are coming to me, from what they tell me, as long as they keep their word and send it to me. We've got a cruiser bike coming, not cruiser, I'm sorry, a commuter bike coming. That is going to be a single speed, belt-driven bike with a lower power motor. I think it's got 350 watts. So when I look at that, I'm going, that might not be good. But then Magicycle says you'll be surprised. Okay. If I'll be surprised, let's hope it's a good one. Then we've got the folding bike coming, the Jaguar Rundy. I think that's a 500 watt motor that peaks at 750. So let's see how that one works out. Then we got the new Ocelot Pro, which is a 20 amp hour battery, 20 inch wheels, non-foldable, 96 newton meters of torque. We'll see how that works out. I did ask them for a second battery for that bike too, so I can take that bike out farther. Hopefully they'll remember to get that to me. If not, I may ask them again. Now, the one thing I like working with Magicycle and working with a longer term relationship with bike companies like that is because, you know, I'll make a request like, hey, can I please get a battery? Or can I get some mirrors or something like that? And they have been accommodating. They don't have to give that to me, quite frankly. I've done the review, I've fulfilled the requirement of the contract. They don't need to do anything for me, but yet they do. I mean, that's why I kind of like working with them. I'm like, wow, these guys are up and up. They've given me stuff when I've asked them for it, even though they don't have to do it. They're not getting that much out of it, right? Well, in a sense they are, if you think about it, because if I'm using their bike more often, because I'm able to take it to more places and things, that's just more exposure for them, right? So they do get a benefit too. I get a benefit of an extra product that will help bring me further. It's not a bike, but that battery is just as important to me as the bike. Maybe more so. Like I said, that even though the Rad Rover doesn't perform like this bike does, I still keep it because it gives me sorry, still coughing, gives me the range that I can't get on the other bikes. So every bike has a purpose. Some bikes do better than others in certain areas. Get a drink here. By the way, people have asked me about this this bottle holder that's on my basket. Yeah, that's zip tied. I'm gonna talk in a minute. It's kind of noisy here. Yeah, that's zip tied to the front basket. Zip ties are your friend in biking. So many good purposes for a zip tie. So sometimes you guys see a reflection of me there, and I'm always messing with my mouth and stuff. My mouth dries out as I'm talking, so sometimes I gotta lick my lips or I gotta lick my teeth or whatever. Looks funny though. I've noticed that myself on the reflection, like the reflections in here. I don't do it on purpose, okay? I do it because I have to. All right, I think we've ridden enough for today. Battery still has quite a bit. I've got 32%, more than I have in the past couple days of riding, because I've been pedaling a little bit more today than I had in the last couple days. I've noticed that my knees, after a longer period of pedaling time, the next day or two it starts to kind of stiffen up a little bit. So I've neglected doing heavy duty pedaling because of that. Do a little bit more throttling, and I don't have to think about it either. I can throttle and not think about pedaling while I'm talking. Anyways, I appreciate you guys coming along again. We'll do more rides. Hopefully new things will come along to show you as well. I'll talk to you guys next time.